Well, hello, and welcome to season 2, episode 1 of Growing Through the Vent. This is Anitra, and we're officially doing a video podcast. Crazy, right? If you tuned in to season 1, it was an audio podcast, and that was wonderful. Great first experience, but this is not my typical setup. Typically, I'm at home in a room with a microphone and a computer and all that fun stuff. But pretty typical for me at this point, I'm learning, is I'm in the middle of a new transition. So we're going to work with what we got and understand that it's going to be uncomfortable because that's what change is, right? Um, but I'm really excited. I have been kind of moving along more in social media. So if you've been part of that journey through Instagram and Facebook, especially, I need to be better with TikTok. Something I'm working on. But with Instagram and Facebook, especially, I appreciate you allowing me to take these past previous steps of the past few months with you. Because it's been a journey nonetheless. And with that, I thought I was just gonna come on here and kind of give a recap of the past couple of years, because it's been like a couple of years since I've posted any new episodes of Growing Through the Vent. And then came to the conclusion that's kind of what season 2 is all about, right? What the process of growth was for me the past couple of years. So we're gonna retouch base on vulnerability, but not just touch base on vulnerability, but how humility really goes hand in hand with it. And I've had to experience that this last couple of years, and from a new perspective and new perception, and being able to stay grounded through that, and had to realign my posture in some areas, because to me, when you're staying grounded in something, it's not just about standing in something, it's about standing 10 toes firmly in something with your shoulders back, chest out, chin up, as you do. Good posture, right? So we'll be going over that, and also having to be aware of your feelings and emotions as you do, because life's not linear, right? And we've already discussed that and know that. But when it comes to our reactions and our responses, sometimes we forget that. And ultimately, our feelings and emotions are our responsibility, regardless of how they came about. Nobody else has control over them except for ourselves. And to understand that and to really follow through with understanding that means that there's a responsibility that we carry when it comes to regulating them. And that's not always easy. I kind of go over that in my Facebook and Instagram reels when I have to face anger and frustration more than I like to. Um, but it's not about what we like, it's about what we grow through, right? The self reflection and knowing your pace and understanding that, yeah, we might feel like we're in a race with time, but ultimately the only person we're racing is ourselves. And so when we pass ourselves up, we're going to have to catch back up to us and how exhausting that can be. We're just going in a cycle in a system repetitively. But as we do so and we learn our pace and we learn how to regulate our feelings and emotions and where they stem from, it's looking beyond the boundaries, right? And in episode or season one, I talk about bold lines for boundaries, but from a new perspective, are boundaries supposed to stay that bold, or are they supposed to blend in with your character and morality and values and purpose in this life? And when they're not respected, how do we react or respond to them? And are you going to allow a cold world to turn you cold? Or are you going to realize that you carry enough light to maintain your own warmth? But in order to find your light, you usually have to go through some darkness, right? Because you can't know light without darkness. It's kind of a balance, you know? So learning the balance that really works for you the best and what's going to keep you most grounded for you on a day-to-day basis. Because really, we're the only person that we're with 24/7, 365 our entire lives. So it's important that we really dive deep within. And yeah, self-reflection is hard, but are you not only able and willing to face that darkness in order to grow? Or do you have to find a pace that works best for you still? We're going to discuss all of that. Because I had to figure some of that stuff out along the way, or even dive deeper in for myself throughout this journey. With that, I'll also be starting a new segment to Growing Through the Vents. It'll be called Niches, where I'll be more raw and vulnerable with the experiences that I've had to grow through. And because I'll have to be more raw and vulnerable with the layers that I'm exposing, it will be more subscription based. Because opening up and being more willing to be vulnerable and understanding the humility that it costs to do so, Nietzsche's really allows me to showcase showcase what darkness tends to feel like. Ironically, the lights go out as we discuss it, but you have to face that darkness sometimes, and we'll throw it on the charger while we do that. Pause. I'll be right back. You know what? I guess we'll be recording this in the dark because it's going to happen tonight. I don't care what it takes. I've already done this a few times today, and every time something has happened. So I'm not going to let this stop us this time, you know? So with Nietzsche's, it's going to be more of a raw and vulnerable layer that I'll be exposing of myself. And the way I separate niche or niches from growing through the vents is, for me, niche is the roots. That's the more darkness part of things, right? Because roots aren't surface level by any means. If anything, the deeper they go, the darker it gets. But you can't bear healthy fruits if you don't take care of those roots. And anitra often gets to be a reflection of those healthier fruits, because I refuse to bear bitter fruits. As soon as I get that bitter taste in my mouth is when I understand it's time for me to really step back, to allow myself to process the things around me. Because the fruits aren't for you, the fruits are for others. I can't eat my own fruit. I can only share what it is intended to be for others. And I don't take that lightly. It's something that I really, for lack of better words, pride myself in. Because once you know you are the source of light within you, you become more willing to step into that darkness. And even if it goes dim or it goes dark, rather than moving in a sense of survival, you'll have an awareness enough for you to be more strategic about the moves that make most sense to you, to help you get through whatever darkness you're experiencing to your level or your vision of success. And I understand how scary that can be, or what that may look like in the moments of things, but I've never really given you guys the details of the experiences that I've experienced in such dark places. So a lot of times I really show where the darkness has led me to, but not necessarily what I've had to walk through to get to that point. You know what I mean? I was raised the mindset of life being chestnut checkers, as many of us refer to life being, but not many people really understand the game these days, or what a chess match really is. And they think of the players and the titles, and they can envision what a chessboard looks like. But when it comes to the actual positioning and roles and process and strategy it takes to actually play a chess match, it kind of gives you a different perspective on your reality. And it's not only referring back to the next move the opponent may be determining, but understanding what could come with the moves after that, and the sacrifices that you may have to take when it comes to your pawns, your rookies, or your rooks, your bishops, and your knights, in order to protect that king and queen on your board. Knowing that there's going to be times where the opponent only takes one or two pawns off your board, and then there's going to be times where the opponent's going to try to sweep up as many players as at once in order to put that king and queen more at risk or more in a vulnerable state. So being understanding to which role and position you play on your board, and what it took for me to really understand through experience and endurance how to stand more confidently in that queen role as I flourish more into the woman I'm intended to be and not just who I've allowed myself to be. Nonetheless, it's been a hell of a ride. Quite a journey. Quite a journey. And when my now 14-year-old nephew was 2, he asked me, he said, Chichon, do you know what acceleration means? It means when something goes fast and then it goes faster. And he had his cartwheels, or wow, cartwheels, his Hot Wheels and his racetrack at the time, and he was showing me how fast things were going and how much faster he could make it happen. And it's lived rent free in my head for the last couple years at this point, and I'm grateful for it. But the acceleration has been so real. I'm like, slow down for a minute, for a second, let me catch my breath. But at the same time, I'm really grateful for it because it's just been something that's helped me prepare for this new season of life and for this new season of the podcast, and being able to reflect back on not just the past couple of years, but the previous season of growing through the vents and different seasons of life in order to continue to grow and to continue to tend to my roots and cultivate my garden more healthily and effectively and efficiently in order to bear healthier fruits. I am really grateful to go through the endurance and go through the experiences and be more willing to be uncomfortable. And when it does go dark or dim, knowing that I'm going to have to step into discomfort in order to grow and in order for change to happen, I'm more willing to do that because I know the light that I carry within. And so understanding that we are an equal amount of light and darkness allows me to sit with darkness in a more peaceful state. But again, being able to reflect back on not just the past couple of years' experiences and endurance, but this lifetime of being a walking testimony, as we all are, as I express to anybody and everybody as often as I can, because this is all of our first time living this life. And there's not just one way of life, there's multiple ways of life, multiple books of life, and who's to tell you which one is best for you other than you learning it for yourself? And that's coming from somebody that stands firmly in my faith in any and all religions, and being able to see God and love and light and darkness in all things, and knowing what it takes to be able to do that. But you have to be able to be willing and able and willing, because they also go hand in hand, to not just do the hard part of self reflection, but go in and dive in to deeper, darker parts of your roots in order for those healthy fruits to flourish properly in life. So, with that, are you afraid of the dark? Because there's times where I used to be, and even when things can become weary, because yeah, you might be aware of your surroundings, but it doesn't mean that things change or things don't change, because change does happen. And the unknown is often the scarier parts of things, right? But understanding that, and understanding that through every lesson, there's still always been a blessing that forms from it in one way or another. You're more willing to turn off those lights when you see darkness already approaching, so that you can move more, again, with strategy and not in survival. So my goal is to not make the discomfort more comfortable, because you can't really do that, but to make it more clear that when you are more willing to sit in that darkness, it kind of gives you the upper hand for when the lights go out, before you're really ready for them to go out. You know? That your light will turn back on, and no matter how dark it gets, and though not all lights are created equally, it's still within you to find the light that's necessary for each study and each experience, and the part of you that needs it the most. Hopefully, it's the healthier parts that you're growing towards, but sometimes you have to find out which works best for you. Oh, been there, done that. That's why, and it's continual. So like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've been there and done that, but it's not like I haven't had to go back and do it again. And it's not that I'm opposed to knowing that something may occur that might bring that darkness more out of me than the light, or vice versa. Because if I'm not aware of my light, then when it goes dark, it can get real dark real quick, right? So being able to keep that balance and maintain that balance throughout this journey and throughout this process, and the doors that have opened up for me as I've done so, I can't wait to share with you guys. It's truly liberating, and being a safe space for others while they grow through their darkness, or towards their light, or if I move the camera, I'm sorry, but even just in general, I am excited to go through this with you, and hope you understand that it's truly a safe space as you grow through your journey too. So you can find me on Facebook or on Instagram at Growing Through the Vents, or TikTok, because like I said, it's something that I'm working on. Um, and yeah, we'll just leave episode 1 at that for now. I'll see you soon. I'll talk to you later. Bye.